Well, today is a second chance for South Carolina to create and have its own school choice program. Today, a group of state senators are meeting for the first time to discuss the measure since the South Carolina Supreme Court rejected it last year, calling it illegal. School choice is something that's been in the news a lot, especially with this year being an election year. The concept is comprised of several ways of using taxpayer money to support education outside of traditional public schools. This includes vouchers, education savings accounts, also tax credit scholarships. Now, the idea is to give this option to all families, regardless of income. This is known as universal private school choice, and it's grown in popularity over the last few years, with nearly 36 states implementing similar programs, and that does include North Carolina. Since then, that number has shrunk exponentially. North Carolina lawmakers overrode Governor Roy Cooper's veto on an expanded school voucher bill last month. The new law allocates about $463 million towards the Opportunity Scholarship Program. The program began nearly a decade ago, and it was sold as a benefit for low and then later middle-income families. But Republicans, who have the majority in the State House, made it universal last year, meaning even well-off families could get a voucher. The expansion put 50,000 students on a wait list for the money. The extra money cleared that wait list. Take a look here at this graph from the State Education Assistance Authority. When the program first started back in 2014, black students were the highest number of recipients. That's the dark blue there. You see 51%. Since then, that number has kept shrinking year after year after year. While this offers more opportunities, the program faces criticism. Groups like teachers' unions are advocating to keep public money in public schools. They say this program takes away money that's desperately needed. Other criticisms focus on large rural communities who may not have private schools. The governor of South Carolina, Henry McMaster, has been an advocate for these types of programs. He signed a measure into law that would create the Education Scholarship Trust Fund back in May of 2023. Students below certain income thresholds could receive $6,000 per year to spend on things like private school tuition, also books, and more. But just after this current school year began, the state Supreme Court struck down part of South Carolina's program. The court says public money cannot directly benefit private schools.
She can have her therapist with her, and she gets like full day therapy every day that she's in school, and it's really helping her thrive and keep up with what's going on in the classroom.
Lydia Bartley of Greenville is one of the families impacted by the pause here. Her daughter Riley's on the autism spectrum, and her mom says they felt a smaller private school would be better for her. She says they were able to afford it because of the Education Scholarship Trust Fund program. But the court's ruling just weeks into the school year just immediately cut that money off. And the justices said no to continuing the payments through the rest of this school year. Our Mary Green is at the South Carolina State House with how lawmakers are trying to work around this ruling to find a legal solution.
Republican lawmakers say reinstating this program will be one of their top priorities here at the State House next year. In the Senate, they expect this will be the first major bill debated after lawmakers gavel back in January.
We have students that are in schools right now that don't know where they're going to end up, and so I think our urgency is to address that first.
In a 3-2 decision, the state Supreme Court ruled the key provision of South Carolina's Education Scholarship Trust Fund program, also known as the School Voucher Program, was unconstitutional. It set an allowance for families below a certain income threshold to use these publicly funded scholarships on private school tuition, violated a constitutional ban on state money directly benefiting private schools. A bill senators plan to take up early next year would change the funding of this program from money in the state's general fund to lottery revenues.
We believe that if we take it out of the court's legal definition of public funds, which they seem to have implied that the lottery scholarships are separate from public funds, then we already cut the constitutional challenges off.
The bill would also make a few changes to the program itself from its previous iteration, including adjusting how much money recipients would receive. Families would be eligible to receive this money as long as their income was less than 600% of the federal poverty level, which is about $187,000 for a family of 4. A bill pre-filed in the House of Representatives would try to reinstate the program by changing the part of the state constitution with which it has run afoul via a statewide ballot referendum.